We are so fortunate here as a part of SPIMA's Alumni Day series to be joined by Katie Desveaux. Katie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Katie, let's introduce you first of all as we get started here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? When did you graduate from the SPIMA program?
For sure. So I graduated from SPIMA in 2018. And I had a lovely and fantastic university experience, and which has led me to my career today, which we will dive into a bit more, I think, as we go through.
Fantastic. And what line of work are you in right now?
So currently, I'm the talent acquisition specialist for campus and co-op at PepsiCo Canada. So I take care of the co-op program, so cycle recruitment, posting jobs, that kind of stuff. And then also the new grad program as well, which is the bridging program between your graduating university and entering those entry level positions.
Fantastic. Tell us about your career trajectory so far. What brought you to PepsiCo? Tell us about how you've arrived in your current role.
Yeah, so in 2018, like I said, I graduated. However, during my undergrad, I worked and I was very involved on campus. So I worked in the recruitment office during my undergrad, and I think that's where I found my true passion for connecting with people and wanting to help others in some way. I didn't know what way at that point, but the way that I found then was helping them decide which university to go to. And assisting them with getting comfortable with campus and doing like the orientation for first year. So because I had such a great university experience, I wanted to help others do the same. So I was very involved in the recruitment office, and then I graduated, and then I got a job as a recruitment officer for Brock. So I traveled all across Ontario, basically telling everybody why Brock was the best school to go to. So I had to learn everything from like the services that Brock had to all the programs, because students and family members and support systems will come up to you and asking you anything about Brock. And then after that, I was most recently in the experiential education department for the EEC for sport management. And that is where I just left this past December. And that's where I coordinated the internship program. That's the largest part of my portfolio, as well as SPIMA Alumni Day, experiential education in the classroom, assisting faculty, all of that stuff. And then I was there for about 3 years, and I was ready for my next challenge. And I still really wanted to be involved in that like university sphere of things. And so I came across this job and put myself out there and ended up at PepsiCo as of January 4th, 2022.
Fantastic. And again, congratulations on such a fantastic position. Tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day is like, or even your week-to-week. What's your day-to-day operations like at your new role?
Yeah, so definitely onboarding has been great. I've had a great team to help me throughout my just over 3 months here. So my day-to-day, so I am in HR, like that's where my position is under. So my day-to-day would be the cycle recruitment for co-op. So I do all the behind the scenes. I work with hiring managers. I post, I pull the resumes, I review, I send them to the hiring managers, set up interviews, phone screening. Sometimes I'll attend interviews depending on what the hiring managers are looking for. And then I'll do the onboarding support. So I'll do the back check and all the forms needed to process to ensure that the co-ops are ready to go as of their start date, which for the spring summer would be early May. And then I also set up like co-op onboarding events. So introducing co-ops to our colleagues, our departments, really understanding the business of PepsiCo. Because that's one of the things that we strive to do is we want all of our co-ops to go to a plant, see how things are made, maybe get on that route truck to really understand, like, yes, you are working in headquarters, but you also need to know how our business runs. So I coordinate all of that. Also doing events on campus. So we had our first in-person event actually post-COVID about 2 weeks ago at Laurier. So that was a lot of fun. So I was organizing that. It was a pitch event. So first year students would come and pitch to PepsiCo. And then there's some scholarships and stuff involved there. And then something that I'm learning that was more of like my prominent 3 months here, but on the back end of my job that will come more prominent in the second half of the year is the campus and new grad program. So the campus and new grad program, it's a 1 to 2 year non-rotational program where it will give you the opportunity to dive yourself into PepsiCo with leadership and someone to guide you throughout that process. And it gives you the opportunity to like build your trust network and really build your skills from what you would have from an undergraduate degree.
Fantastic. And you've sort of answered this next question in kind of the way you answered this last question, but what types of jobs are typically available in your field? So when you're looking at new graduates and you're trying to introduce them to your industry right now, certainly at PepsiCo or other parts of your specific industry, what kinds of jobs do you typically see available?
Yeah, so personally, I recruit for headquarters roles. So when you think like corporate in the office, like that's what I recruit for. However, PepsiCo has a various wide range of jobs available. So like sales out on the route trucks in the factories. So those positions can range all across for PepsiCo. But yeah, I mainly do like the data science, engineering, a little bit of sales, supply chain. I'm hiring for those co-ops for myself.
And when you do hire for those positions, or when you're looking for those positions, what kinds of skills are we looking at here normally for people trying to break into your field? Maybe if there's someone listening to this that says that sounds exactly like me, that's exactly the kind of work that I want to do. What kind of skills should they be focusing on highlighting and maybe developing while they're here at Brock?
Yeah, so I would say if you're looking to get into more of like an HR recruitment role, so if you're kind of looking to do what like I'm doing, you would definitely need like communication is key. People management is also very important because you are going to be working with a lot of other people. Initiative and problem solving are also two other really big things that I find that sometimes are lacking when I do see resumes or skills that they have to produce in interviews. Those would be those key, I would say, in an HR position. But if you're looking for those co-op roles that like I would be recruiting for, there's specific like platforms that our students would need to know, and it encompassing all of those like skills as well. Because co-ops, you're here to learn, but you're also here to like speak your mind and speak fearlessly and really test your like knowledge before you enter the like real world, as they would say.
Fantastic. That's extremely helpful. And to even further drill down on this, when you're looking at the horizon of the future here, certainly in your field, but also as you've seen students go through in your previous roles, many different types of roles, certainly with the experiential education role that you had at Brock, you've seen many to enter the sport industry. Do you see any future trends on the horizon in terms of employability skills? Do you see skills that many of the students that you worked with previously were lacking that you think to yourself, wow, if you're a Brock student right now, you need to work on these skills specifically?
Yeah, definitely. I would say initiative. I know I've mentioned initiative, problem solving, communication, and leadership. I would say are the most valued skills. I find that a lot of the times people don't problem solve or struggle to problem solve, and then they'll just go directly to the person above them, or they think it's easier to send somebody an email of, hey, I can't find this, like, where is it? And I know this happened quite a bit in my previous role where it's clearly stated in an email or a syllabus or somewhere. And at the end of the day, you want to build that relationship with somebody. But if you are asking them, I would say lazy questions that could like hinder your relationship with them because you're not taking the time and taking that initiative to problem solve and to find that answer. And so I would say that's one of the big things that I have seen shift over the last couple of years is the lack of problem solving and lack of like initiative trying to problem solve.
Good answer there. Absolutely. So a question that I'm sure you're faced with every day now at this point, whether you've been asked it directly or not. What has the pandemic done to work in generally and the way that opportunities are evaluated in your field, certainly the way that we're communicating right now is different because of the pandemic. Generally speaking, we have an in-person alumni day experience, which of course you're very familiar with. But what has the pandemic done to your field specifically, and how can students sort of prepare or deal with the changes as you perceive them to the workforce?
Yeah, so I worked for Brock when the pandemic hit, so I'll speak to that experience a bit. So as I'm sure the students who will be watching this, like maybe first year, second year, really came in the heat of that too. So we got sent home, which was supposed to be only for about 2 weeks, and 2 years later, here we are. So it's been adaptability was a big thing with university. I know universities have more of that like old fashioned work type environment where they want you in 5 days a week. And I think a lot of places had that beforehand as well. And so I think now in the university sphere, I would say flexibility is key, trust is key, because the generations are changing, and as long as someone gets their job done, that's all that really should matter. Does it need to be on a clock from 9 to 5? No, maybe somebody works better from noon to 10 or something. Like, I think that's one thing that I think the pandemic has opened up a lot of people's eyes. Maybe less micromanaging from managers, stuff like that, I think has really impacted in a positive way. Like, no one expected to go through a pandemic. But now speaking with PepsiCo terms, I would say PepsiCo was already flexible before the pandemic. They already had that like work from home options. And then now I think it's going to be even more hybrid with more flexible work opportunities coming our way as the province reopens. So yeah, it's been a very interesting way, but I would say moving forward, online opportunities would be, I think, just as great as in person. I think being in person, yes, offers a lot of more like maybe different interaction. I don't want to say better. But yeah, I think we've proven to everybody over the last 2 years that we all can execute our jobs from home. But at the end of the day, in-person interaction is definitely needed.
Absolutely. And is your role specifically, is it a work from home role? Is it hybrid? Is it going to be in person? Or is there any clarity on that right now?
Not too much clarity. Definitely hybrid. I would say, from what I've heard, like 1 day a week in office, the rest from home. So mainly from home, but it's going to be a very flexible work environment for myself, which I'm really appreciative of.
My goodness, 3 years ago, if we would have known that like that would become the norm, I mean, that would have, I think, changed a lot of people's decisions about where they were living and all those sort of things that we're all reckoning with right now. So a really important topic, certainly in the classes that I'm teaching right now, and certainly professional preparation courses, the interview process. It's a scary thing. It's a lot of things that students are afraid of. I think it's something that, and we talked about this in class frequently, that does require practice. But how can students make the most of the job search process? Do you have any advice to give on interviewing successfully?
Yeah, absolutely. So interviewing definitely is stressful. I've been there. I think we've all been there, especially if it's a job that you're really excited for. I would say prep for interviews is very key, whether that's with your roommates, your family, friends, anything like that. Go through those questions, like do like a mock interview type thing. And it really helps you prep, because when you go to execute those questions, you've already said it out loud. So you know how it's going to sound essentially. And always have those answers. Like, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Tell me about yourself. Like, have those classic questions, like answers to those questions ready at all times at any stages of the interview point. Because those questions can come up. And if you aren't prepared for those questions, sometimes that can be like a red flag to a recruiter. So I would say prep on that side of things. Another thing that I do personally is I would take the job description, and then I would take my resume, and I would kind of put them side by side. And then I would write on the job description what I have done that connects with that skill or activity that they're looking for, and then how I did it, and like what was the result of it. And so you kind of want to, so I can say like, yes, I have done this. This is what I have done. And then on areas that I may not have touched on, what am I doing now to like improve myself to get to that point, to show that I am working on various aspects of what is in that job description. And then, yeah, just be yourself. I think being yourself is a huge factor in everything. And I think virtually sometimes it can be hard because you can be wearing your sweatpants on the bottom, but like a nice shirt on the top. But yeah, I think being yourself is very key. And I think people can see that in virtually or in person.
Fantastic advice about the resume and the job description too. What a good skill. I hope that everyone here is listening to that and takes that advice to heart. Another thing that we talk about in the professional preparation sense is this word that I think everyone is familiar with, but maybe doesn't understand always what it means in practice. That is networking. Networking. Do you have any advice for young SPEMA students on what networking is, perhaps, and how to do it effectively?
Yeah. So one great thing about the SPEMA program is that we do, in a sense, I guess, hand you the opportunity to network. I know it's been a bit different through the pandemic, but there's been alumni day events, there's been networking opportunities through the student councils, anything like that. Take advantage of those because you don't know who you're going to connect with, and they could set your career off. And you can be soaring through that internship, through that first job. You can connect with them, whether it's personally or professionally. Like, you find these connections with people where people will remember you. And even if it's just a mentor, I think it's a great opportunity to hear from someone in the field and see how it's changing to keep up with that pulse of what is happening outside of university, because you have been in school for however many years and you're graduating and you don't know what the workforce is. So I would say attending those and attending them properly as well. Please don't show up to alumni day in sweatpants and a hoodie. You can wear that to every other week in your class. It's happened before and alum have made comments. So make sure you show up properly dressed and prepared. So whether, I don't know if business cards will still be a thing after this, but connecting on LinkedIn or whatever that may be at the time, really take that opportunity and advantage there to put yourself out there and put yourself out there in the proper way as well. That would be my second point is, yes, we want to hear an alum or networking. We want to hear about all the awesome things you have done, but you also don't want to come off too overbearing because their time is valuable as well. So you just want to communicate with them properly.
Fantastic. Great advice. So you've networked, you've taken your advantage about the resume, you put the job description there, you wrote on there how you're specifically addressed the job description, you aced the interview because we listened to your awesome advice, you networked your way to get the interview in the first place. Fantastic. Now you've got the job. Is there a way that you can help for our SPEMA students imagine how to make a good first impression once you started a new job? How does one do that?
Yeah, I would say ask all the questions. So, for example, I just started this job in January, and starting a new job can be overwhelming. Your routine is off. You're overwhelmed because you don't know anything. Maybe your login systems aren't working. So I would definitely ask all the questions and ask. I don't want to say while you can, but you have this window when you start a job, and you want to come off as you want to be eager. You want to show them what you can do. But yeah, asking all those questions, and I would say being prepared is the other big one. Like whether it's, I would say always be prepared for your one-on-ones with your manager. Always be prepared for the meetings that you might have to either lead or be a part of or speak on. Those would be my two big things of starting that new job, because if you're not prepared, that can really maybe put a different taste in somebody's mouth when you're in that meeting, maybe.
Fantastic. These are great advice all around. I want to ask you some questions about your time here at Brock more specifically.
Yeah.
When you describe Brock to people maybe who've never heard of it or didn't go, how do you describe Brock to people when you're trying to describe your time there and the university more broadly?
Oh my goodness. Great question. Brock is a fantastic school. It's a mid-sized school where you're able to, people will get to know you by name. You'll see a friendly face in the hall. Yet it's small enough where you can get that feeling, but it's big enough where you have those opportunities to thrive and get yourself ready for the real world. So I would say Brock has the best of both worlds, and no matter what program you go for, Brock has the services and support there to set you up. You might just have to find those once you're here on campus.
Perfect. And the last final question, we're really, really, really grateful you've shared all this time with us already, Katie. If you were speaking to someone who is just starting their career here at Brock, they're just starting their time here, they're maybe right now, for instance, they're transitioning back to in-person learning, what would you tell someone who's just starting that you wish you could tell every first year student when they're just starting their time at SPIMA and Brock?
For sure. I would say university flies by. By the blink of the eye, sorry. You're going to be in fourth year university and graduating. So work hard, enjoy it, and take this time to find what you to like find yourself, find what you like, find what you don't like. Whether that be personally or in a career. Do you like event management? Do you like marketing? Where do you want to see yourself go? And really try that out. Take advantages of the volunteer opportunities that sport management will send you, or Canada Games that's coming up, or any event in the GTA. Like, take advantage of it, network, and honestly, at the end of the day, be yourself and stay involved and get involved. I think you'll hear that from many faculty members. Is getting involved is a big piece. Like, yes, you can go to the classroom and hand in your exams and your work, and that's awesome. But like, what's going to separate you from somebody else is what you do outside of the classroom.
Katie, thank you so very much for being a part of the alumni series again, and we're hoping to have you back on campus again real soon. We really valued all your contributions you made to Brock over the years. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.